how a company stands behind their product, like how proactive is a company, is a big deal. I tell my dealers jokingly that if a sales rep ever tells you this is the first time I've seen this, don't believe him. I don't think there's any company that doesn't have failures. I think the biggest indicator of the integrity of a company is how it responds to failures.
This episode is sponsored by Door and Gate Domination, a digital marketing agency that helps garage door contractors, gate companies, and access control businesses like never before. If you're looking for help with marketing and you want real results with SEO, websites, Google Ads, Meta, and AI-powered systems built for the door and access industry, visit us at doordomination.com to schedule a free strategy session and a competition analysis. It's time to dominate your market.
Welcome to Garage Door Growth, the podcast for professionals and contractors in the garage door and gate industry. Join us as we hear from well-respected vendors, industry leaders, and highly successful door and gate contractors. This is the ultimate source for valuable insights on running and scaling a successful garage door business with your host, Barry Nix.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Garage Door Growth, the podcast where we talk with leaders, doers, disruptors of the garage door, gate, and access control industry. I'm Barry, and today I am excited and thrilled to be joined by someone who's well known in the garage door space, on social media, and at all the trade shows. Anyone listening knows Roman. This is Roman Troyer with Sommer. They are a really cool company, a leading garage door operator manufacturer. So today we're going to talk to Roman and dig into why door dealers choose Sommer and talk to him about his experience and industry knowledge, his expertise, because now he helps run the North America, part of Sommer for the operator division. Unless I'm wrong, Roman, isn't that a pretty simple description of your complex role?
It's fair. It's fair.
Let's talk about, welcome, Roman. I just want to say thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, super excited to have you. So your background in the door industry, talk about what we were talking about earlier, how you got into the door business, when that was, in what capacity, and then, how Sommer came into play and how that relationship formed, if you don't mind.
Of course. So my start in the door industry was actually in the mid-90s. I was living in southwestern Missouri with my family, had some friends who owned a post-frame building company. And so they sold building packages, including garage doors and operators. And they wanted somebody to install their doors and operators. So my dad and my younger brother and I did it nights and weekends. It was our part-time job for about 2 years near Carthage, Missouri. And then in 2010, I had a friend who was either selling or closing down his garage door company. This was kind of when the economy wasn't doing well. He was shifting industries. And so I bought his door company and built it from being very much a part-time job into, I was basically buying a phone number and a little bit of stock, and built it into about five or six trucks on the road, 7, 8 employees. That was 2010. In 2012, I went to International Builder Show with some friends and discovered Sommer and started selling Sommer. So my mix was Sommer, linear. I sold a DC motor from Linear that was kind of my go-to as a contractor grade operator. And then I sold LiftMaster's premium grade motors when customers wanted Wi-Fi and battery backup, because Sommer didn't have those options yet at the time. I only like DC motors for residential, which is why those were the models I used. With that split, I sold about 70% Sommer. In 2016, I bought out my supplier because I wanted his CHI account. It wasn't a great purchase, and I ended up getting out and selling both in 2018 when an opportunity came up with Sommer. My friend, who was the general manager of Sommer USA, decided to move back to Germany, and he's like, "Do you know anybody who would be a good fit for my job?" And I said, "Not really." And then about 5 minutes later, I was like, I think I might be a good fit for it if I could do something with my companies. And he's like, "Well, let me know. I've got 2 days." So I went back. I was in talks with another commercial company about doing a possible merger, and I went back and asked them if they wanted me to buy me out instead. And so, they said yes, because they also wanted some of the accounts and the distributor accounts I had. So some of the vendor accounts I had. And that was that. We had about a month and a half process, about a 4.5 year payout. And I've been completely out of it since 2022.
Wow. Okay. So you were selling some other competitive brands and you had a relationship with Sommer. When you went to work with Sommer, what was your role at that time? Like, what was your role there and what did you do?
Yeah, so they hired me as a regional sales manager Southeast, which is still kind of what I do business as, even though my role's grown significantly since then.
Mm. To educate the community on the product, on Sommer, the product, how it's different, why door dealers today choose the brand over other brands.
The primary difference in our trolley operators specifically is that other operators have a motor in a box at the end of a rail, and the motor pushes and pulls linkages that in turn push and pull the door open and closed. Ours, instead of that, actually it's got a box at the end of the rail also, but it's a much smaller box because it's only a controller. And then the rail is a C channel with a single tension chain inside of it and a motor that actually pulls itself along the chain. So the motor is moving instead of being at the back of the rail pushing and pulling with linkages. We call it a direct drive system to differentiate from chain drive, because in this case, it's the motor that's driving the door, not the chain that's driving the door. So that's the kind of the short version. There's, I think, a lot of reasons that customers do business with us. From just the garage door operator side, when you have a moving motor, you basically end up with less moving parts. There's several advantages to that. One is that the overall operation tends to be smoother, just because you have less linkages where there's give for there to be kind of take up and slack and movement. So they tend to be very smooth operating. Also, obviously, with less moving parts, you have a better shot at longevity. I'm sure there are many other residential operators that could, at least in some occasions, meet up to where we are. But in Europe, there's an industry standard where everything is tested for longevity. And we do that with transmitter buttons, for example. We have machines that sit there and just punch the button on a transmitter to see how many times it'll punch before it dies. So we do the same with operators. When we have operators in beta phase, we put them in a testing center and we run them. We're running them at about half their capability as far as duty rating. So they're not running at maximum duty rating. They're running at about half duty rating. And in order for this current generation to go to production, the minimum threshold that was set was 125,000 cycles. So we keep the circuit boards hot enough that you don't want to touch them for very long during that testing phase. So that means that everything that is in and around the motor has to be built to pretty robust standards in order to reach the 125,000 cycles while being kept at 150, 160 degrees Fahrenheit. So those are some of just the mechanical reasons, I think.
How old is the company? Like, when was the first Sommer operator built?
First Sommer operator was built in 1980. The first motor with the first operator with the traveling motor was built in 1984.
Mm. So there's, being a German product like German cars and German everything, the engineering's just different quality. I would assume, and what I've read, like in the Facebook groups and when I've talked to door dealers who are clients of Door and Gate Domination, it seems like people that want to offer a high quality product choose Sommer. That's my, like, I wish I had one on my door. I don't, but now that I've learned about them over the last few years, it just seems like a really, a different quality product. So door dealers, are they exclusive to Sommer, or do they also offer other brands?
So we have both. We don't typically, and this may be partly because of my experience in the field. I tended to like product mixes when I was a dealer. I like to be able to offer a wide array of products so that I can fit any customer's need. I mean, sometimes a customer already has an existing garage and he wants transmitters to be able to match, and so I like the flexibility of that. And so maybe partly because of that, although I think in the past, also, when I was a dealer, Sommer didn't require any exclusivity of me. So we have dealers who are exclusive, and we have dealers who sell product mix, in some cases with a pretty low percentage of Sommer. Typically, the way that works, though, is we have advantages that we offer to dealers it's really based on their product volume more than an exclusivity commitment. So the more you sell, the better your terms are, the better your pricing is, the more fun you get to have with us, like going to Germany for R&T show. We just started extending invitations for that. Sommer knows how to party well. So we do have a few customers who we offer exclusivity to, but that's usually just based on an individual basis. What do they want? Are their goals realistic? And then we offer exclusivity based on that.
Yeah, I think that's great. Now, we haven't talked about this before, but I believe they can be custom branded for the door company. Is that true?
That's correct. So we do offer private labeling. Pretty much everywhere that the Sommer logo is on our operators, you can have your own logo put there. The exceptions are the manuals will always say Sommer, and the manufacturer product ID that's on the side of the product will always, of course, carry because the serial number is there and date of manufacturer and where it comes from and import information and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Right. Wow, that is cool. So if you're a door dealer and you want to have your own custom branded openers that you're installing, that's great for branding, great for
Yes.
name recognition, opposed to, just having a sticker on the wall back by the clicker or on the back of the door. To also have it on the opener is a big advantage to me.
Yep.
It would seem like it's a big advantage. Do other competitors, anybody else do that? The branding?
There are some who do, yes. Typically, I think from what I know, we have one of the lowest volume thresholds. In other words, you can get private labeled with us at a lower volume than you can with almost anyone else. I think typically the larger the manufacturer in any country, probably the larger your requirements are for private labeling.
I see.
I think one of the things that has affected Sommer, the company, philosophically, the traveling motor offers unique flexibility in design that you don't have elsewhere. And I'll give you an example. When the motor travels along a fixed chain and a C-channel rail, the distance of travel is not mechanically limited. as long as you keep adding rail and chain, the motor keeps running. Now, of course, there are some software limitations in that, but it gives us unique flexibility. And I think some of that flexibility has bled back into Sommer, the company, where we've designed ourselves around the idea of being flexible and configuring products for our customers. And that's one of the reasons that private labeling is fairly easy. When we make transmitters, the Sommer logo is engraved with a laser. It could just as easily be someone else's logo. We have a slight upcharge for it, but it's just because of how the product mixes. So we sell operators with no transmitters, and then the transmitters are sold separately. But there's technically no additional upcharge for it. I tell customers it's like having your sticker in more places, and in the places that people are actually seeing when they're using their operator.
What's like nowadays, you mentioned back in the day, Sommer didn't offer the smart opener, smart technology. How has that come along over the years?
Yeah, so the way we do business now, again, it's part of the flexibility, I think, is instead of building different models with different features and functions, we have a basic model, 2 mechanical variations, 3 motor sizes. But then we have a huge array of features and functions of accessories that can be added for features and functions. Some of them are hardware accessories. So, for example, if you have a limited back room, if you need to install them on sliding doors or swinging doors, if you want to do side mount above or below track because you don't have the headroom you need, those are typically hardware accessories. And then we have plug and play accessories that really tie into the firmware and the operator, things like Wi-Fi, cameras, battery backup, memory extenders, humidity sensors, devices for security, so a motor lock or burglar alarms. We have a huge array of plug and play accessories. So the nice thing is that you're not stocking multiple models to get those features and functions. You're stocking a basic model, and then you're just stocking the accessories that you sell for features and functions. We stock all of them here in Charlotte, so even for dealers who don't want to stock all the accessories, they can stock the ones they sell most. Our turnaround time tends to be 2 to 4 days for pretty much anything they could need.
So they can custom order it if the homeowner really wants something tricked out and has all the cool stuff on it.
Yes.
That's a custom order. Like, I wouldn't stock that as a door dealer, but I could just call and order one at a time.
That's mostly the way it happens. So, for example, a lot of door dealers don't stock fingerprint scanners because they're pricey and there's 5 different ones. And depending where you want it mounted and all of that, it doesn't make sense to stock them. So they just order as needed.
I see.
And that's true for a lot of the kind of more specialized accessories.
Do they have an app like where
Yes.
the homeowner can download that and, like LiftMaster has?
Yes, our app is called SumWeb. Yeah, it's a control app. It's pretty standard like everyone else. The one thing we do differently with SumWeb is Wi-Fi is not built into the operators. There's an add-on device. We have one that's already available that is a completely separate device, and then we have another one that's coming out soon that's a plug-in device that plugs directly into the motor carriage circuit board. But both of them are off cloud, meaning that when you set up your information on the device, you're not storing it in the cloud, you're storing it on your device at your place. And then you're using the internet as the access point to access your device, which in turn gives you access to your property. Germans and Europeans tend to be pretty security conscious, and one of the reasons they do that way is a security measure. Another is it's more expensive, yes, but with SumWeb, for example, we have a gigabyte of hard drive that's built into the device. So if you add cameras, you can, depending on the camera function, you can do, for example, motion activated loop video recording. but there's no fees associated with it because we're not using cloud storage. We're only using the internet for a routing device.
Got it.
There's pros and cons everywhere. The one that will be plugged into the motor carrier circuit board obviously is a much smaller device, so it has much less storage. So you can still add cameras to it, but you're much more limited to how much recording capability you have and so on, just because of limited memory.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, a premium customer, somebody who's not as cost conscious and they just want good quality, dependability. Maybe they want it tricked out. A dealer can call, and as long as there's not an exclusive agreement, they can, sign up as a dealer or get approved or however that process works, and then just start stocking the product or ordering the product. Is that a typical, like when you go to the door shows, is that the conversation that happens between you and a contractor?
Typically, yes. I think the one other advantage we have is our rail is multi-piece. So an 8-foot operator ships in a box that's 44 inches long or 45 with the UPS shipping case on the outside, which makes it particularly easy to buy. We have some dealers who just buy, for example, 5 operators, and then every day or every few days, they just reorder from whatever their stock, rather than stocking 30 or 3 or 4 pallets worth of operators. They're stocking only a few and ordering as needed. It pushes their cost up a bit, but it keeps their overhead very low.
Yeah. Overhead low. They don't need the space. They don't need to store it and keep track of inventory.
It's particularly easy for startups also just because it lowers the cash flow challenge significantly.
But if they want to buy in bulk and they have the room for it and they already have like a inventory system set up, it might make enough sense to go ahead and order if there's savings involved. Like if the money makes
absolutely.
sense.
We have a lot of customers also who we can put 65 8-foot operators on a 45 by 45 by 72 pallet. So we have a lot of customers who buy that. That's the way they ship from Germany, 65 operators on a pallet. So repackage, add accessories, ship it out. It's pretty easy and pretty efficient for shipping just because that's a lot of operators in a small space.
Yeah, 65 and what did you say? What's the size of that pallet? 72
40,
inches tall?
45 by 45 and 72 inches tall.
Yeah.
Which means we can put 1,300 operators in a 40-foot container.
Are there challenges? Like, what is the biggest concern for a door contractor when he's selling an opener? I'm in some Facebook groups. I read. I listen to my own clients. There are challenges with different opener companies. Currently, I'm hearing that, a couple of brands keep increasing their prices. And I'm sure some of that is unavoidable. But what are the challenges door contractors face today that Sommer solves?
So I think the two big things, I've heard a lot of garage door dealers say that they wish they could just sell doors and not have to mess with operators. And I kind of understand that because doors are completely mechanical. With operators, you have electronics, you have software.
Mm-hmm.
So troubleshooting, there's a lot of things that are just more complicated and really require more expertise with operators than with doors, maybe. So I think having a product that has a solid quality control process out of the gate is pretty important because callbacks, especially on operators tend to be pretty competitive. And so callbacks on operators tend to eat into dealers' margins pretty quickly. So that's one thing. Realistically, so one of the things that Sommer does is like every operator in the manufacturing process is powered up, computers connected to it to make sure, and it checks a whole bunch of different functions to make sure that everything is there and working the way it should. Obviously, the motor's not run during that process, But that's one of the things we do for quality control, just to make sure that we're not shipping stuff that is defective, at least not at the rate we would be if we didn't have those kind of electronics checks. So that's one thing. But I think then the other thing is how a company stands behind their product. Like how proactive is a company is a big deal. I tell my dealers jokingly that if a sales rep ever tells you this is the first time I've seen this, don't believe him.
Mm-hmm.
Although I say it to my customers too. I think I only say it when it's actually the first time I've seen it. Maybe sometimes I have a memory lapse and I say it the second time. But we have a pretty clear process where we do quality checks on shipments received in the US. So we have local dealers that we work with who are getting new product, making sure that there's not missing components or anything like that, just checking it in their installation process. If we discover that anything is missing, then we actually have a process whereby we open product and configure it the way it's supposed to be. And then also, anytime we discover an issue that's in the field, we have Sumlink, which is a device that allows the installer to access the software on the operator and actually read. It actually lets them see what's happening with the software. So it provides a level of accountability. If there's a mistake, it's a manufacturer problem or an installer problem or a user problem. And Sumlink kind of helps cut through the fog with that and lets them see what's going on and why and where. And then we tend to be very proactive. So if issues are discovered, we handle them as quickly as we can, find solutions for them as quickly as we can, and push those solutions from the product that's shipping from Charlotte, like from that day, not just we don't have to wait on the next shipments to come before the solutions are pushed. So being very proactive and having a good quality control process, I think, are probably the two biggest things with garage door operators for dealers.
How do people find you? Like, where do they? I know we can see at the door show there's IDA coming up, and geez, that's 2 months from yesterday and today. Actually, this week, 2 months away. I'm sure you'll be at that. What other shows are you going to?
So we've been attending quite a few builder shows, post frame and garage builder shows. We've been attending the regional door affiliate shows, so like PDA and WASA. Of course, the IDA EduCons. And next month we'll be at the Disaster Expo. It's a first for us, and we're showing a product that is really not garage door operator related, even though it requires our operators to be used in conjunction with it. But we're showing some flood prevention products for garage doors and entry doors at the Disaster Expo in Miami. And hopefully before too long, we'll be at the International Builders Show and some of the other places where not just garage door companies, but construction companies hang out.
Well, I meant to say this at the very beginning, but before we wrap this up and close, Roman, do you know what I'm about to say?
I have no idea.
I want to fulfill your son's request and talk about what he asked this episode was going to be about.
Yes.
So
yes, heffalumps indirectly.
Explain that.
This morning, I actually got the time wrong. I thought we were doing it at 9 a.m. Eastern. So I'm like rushing to get to the office because the office is an hour from my house, dropping my kids off at my mom's, who does daycare and homeschooling for us and whatnot. And my son's like, why are you in such a hurry to get to the office? And I'm like, well, I'm going to be interviewed for a podcast today. And he's like, what's the podcast about? Winnie the Pooh? And I was like, well, I don't know. I think it's going to be about garage doors. And he's like, it should really be about Winnie the Pooh. And I was like, well, I will bring it up so we have honorable mention.
Yeah, I don't know how to relate Winnie the Pooh to Sommer operators. But I'm sure there's a correlation somewhere.
So there's an industry correlation with the heffalump. If you read the story about the heffalump, Winnie the Pooh ends up being driven by a fear that really turns out to be just in his head. And he actually ends up being his own horrible heffable horror lump and all that kind of thing. So I think there's a lesson about being afraid and being afraid to try new things. We see that tends to be a trend in our industry to not try new things. But I think venturing out and trying new things is definitely a good way to build business, to set yourself apart in your markets.
Well, that's a great correlation. And it is true in any industry. Like if you're not willing to do things that are uncomfortable, there's no way to get outside of your box and grow and expand and learn from mistakes. I'm sure Sommer, the quality of the product or where it was, when it started in 1984 or whenever the first, direct drive operator was built until today has had lots of failures along the way.
For sure. I don't think there's any company that doesn't have failures. I think the biggest indicator of the integrity of a company is how it responds to failures.
No doubt about it. And the fear of failure is what holds most people back from anything in life.
For sure.
Whether it's public speaking or getting on a podcast or branching out and trying new products. There's all sorts of hesitations. And I think if I was a door dealer, I would sell Sommer because of the premium grade. Because no matter what market you're in, with an exception, most of the people who have a successful garage door business always have a percentage of those clients that are high end, or people that just want good quality. And I know that Sommer offers operators that are not expensive, that are in the same price range. So just for the quality, and sounds like to me from the people I talk to, there's less complaints, warranties, callbacks, issues with the operator itself compared to some of the other opener brands. So I know we didn't really talk about that, but in my due diligence, came across that and found that interesting. Is you have to put myself in a position of, well, if I was a door guy, like if I was a door company, what would I want to know about, this service or this product? And that's what I feel like. One of my buddies and clients is a dealer of Sommer in San Diego. And he definitely loves the brand. And it was the first time I'd ever seen a customized garage door owner with the name of that company on it. And I thought, that is just radical. How cool is that? So I appreciate you being here. Thanks for being on the show. And thank you for all the listeners who've tuned in. And don't forget to subscribe or leave us a review or share the episode with somebody in the industry you think might want to hear this. If you need to get in touch with my friend Roman, how do people reach out to you, Roman? Besides, if they're not going to the show, do they call you? Can they reach you through the website, email you? How are you reachable?
I get probably 25% of my contact requests through Facebook Messenger, believe it or not. Also, my cell phone, 704-589-8287. And my email is r.troyer@sommer, sommer-usa.com.
Yeah, and another fun fact about Roman, before we talk about, ending the show, I think I've been told you speak a number of different languages by different people, and it varies between, I think, as little as 6 and as many as 8. What is the real number?
Definitely not quite that many. I'm fluent in 3. So English, Spanish, and an old Swabian German. I can understand modern German fairly well. I can understand Italian and Portuguese fairly well, and I'm not conversation, but I can understand some Mandarin. My wife is Taiwanese, so we've got a large Chinese community around me too.
I see. So you really probably 5,
Yeah, maybe.
not including English.
Not when I'm speaking to linguists. When I'm speaking to linguists, it's 3. Other people, it could be 4 or 5. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, another fun fact about Roman Troyer. So, well, until next time, keep growing your business, and we will see you later.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.